The wife went to the hospital for prenatal checkup with full expectation, but was deliberately sent a photo of herself with her husband by the bitch, and the necklace in the photo was bought by the husband. The wife still thought it was a carefully prepared gift from her husband for herself. Little did she know that it was now worn on the bitch's neck. She eagerly called her husband to question him, but couldn't get through. At this time, she had already begun to feel uneasy inside. And then, immediately after being hit, the wife suddenly felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. Even so, she still didn't want to believe that her husband would cheat. Enduring the severe pain, she wanted to find her husband just to get an answer. But she was stopped by the nurse. Just at this time, she heard a familiar voice coming from beside her. It was precisely her husband accompanying the bitch to have a prenatal checkup. This cruel reality was like a sharp blade that instantly pierced her happy fantasy. The wife couldn't hold back her hot temper and went forward and slapped her husband hard. However, when she went home and questioned her husband, the husband not only didn't have the slightest guilt, but instead accused the wife of not being clean anywhere either. The wife was full of grievances. She had loved her husband wholeheartedly for 3 years and served his whole family wholeheartedly, but in return, she got such a result. She resolutely proposed divorce to her husband. Seeing that the wife was determined to leave, the husband actually put forward an excessive request. He didn't allow the wife to take away anything from home. The wife didn't expect her husband to be so heartless. She took off her clothes, took off the jewelry given to her by her husband, and even took off her shoes. She returned the wedding ring together with everything to her husband. Then the husband left the scene indifferently with his new lover, letting the mother humiliate the wife in various ways. The stimulated wife suddenly had a sharp pain in her abdomen, and then bright red blood flowed out. The intense pain made her almost faint. Fortunately, her elder brother who got the news came in time. The wife told her elder brother with the remaining strength to take her away quickly. When the husband's family chased them out, the wife had already left here with her elder brother. However, they were surprised to find that the license plate number of the elder brother's car was actually the car of the local richest man. It turned out that the wife's real identity was the daughter of the local richest man, the eldest lady of the Jiang family. Just because her husband had saved her life back then, so she married her husband to repay his kindness. And she also used her family connections to support her husband's company. Unexpectedly, in return, she was cruelly abandoned by her husband and even lost the child in her womb. Fortunately, her 2 elder brothers and father have been by her side all the time. Under the careful care of her family, the woman finally regained her former confidence. Until this day, the woman came to attend a local luxury banquet and happened to meet her ex-husband at the scene. At this time, the ex-husband only then found that the woman after being carefully dressed up was so beautiful. At the moment when the two passed by each other, the ex-husband showed eyes full of reluctance. The woman immediately smashed her beloved wedding photo. She packed her luggage and decided to leave the home where she had been in a 6-year marriage. It turns out that the woman had always liked this man since her school days. However, she, who was not good at expressing herself, chose to secretly have a crush on him from behind. As a result, the man got into a relationship with her lively and cheerful best friend. For years passed like this. One day, the best friend suddenly had a car accident and was urgently sent to the hospital for rescue. But the nurse told the man that there was no matching blood type in the blood bank. At a critical moment, the woman came to the hospital. She told the man that her blood type could match that of her best friend, but on the premise that he must marry her after saving her best friend. In order for his girlfriend in the operating room to survive, the man immediately agreed to her request without hesitation. In this way, the woman finally got together with the person she loved. She was originally the eldest lady of the Jiang family. For 6 years, she restrained her temper and worked hard without complaint. She carefully noted down the man's favorite tastes. The man had obsessive-compulsive disorder about cleanliness. She carefully picked up every single hair. When the man came home drunk, she quickly brought hangover soup. But the man pushed her away and blamed her for not being able to do even a small thing well. Even on their wedding anniversary, the man was still taking care of his vegetative girlfriend in the hospital, while the woman was at home longing for her husband to come home. Unexpectedly, her mother-in-law came with people and wanted to drive her away. It turned out that the best friend who had been in a coma for 6 years had actually woken up. The mother-in-law asked people to throw away her things. When the woman saw that her beloved wedding photo was about to be taken away, she held on tightly and refused to let go. At this time, the man returned home. He grabbed the woman by the neck and accused her of being the culprit of her best friend's car accident. 6 years of dedication in return for her husband's distrust and a disgusting remark. The woman felt it wasn't worth it for herself. She immediately smashed the wedding photo and packed her luggage and left. The woman wanted to find out the truth of the car accident and clear her name. The woman asked her childhood friend to send her to the hospital. She confronted her best friend face to face and asked why she said she was the culprit of the car accident. The best friend pretended to have a headache out of guilt and couldn't remember the details. The man was about to drive her away. The woman took out the divorce agreement and gave it to her husband. Looking at the man signing it and making an appointment for the formalities, she walked out of the hospital without looking back. In the evening, the woman came to the bar with her childhood friend to have a wild celebration. Her childhood friend prepared male models as a surprise for her. Seeing how beautiful the colorful world outside was, the woman sighed and wondered why she had to hang herself on a crooked neck tree, At this time, the woman recognized that the male model was actually a college student she had sponsored. After graduating, the handsome young man had made a name for himself. In order to express his gratitude, he had been secretly investigating the fraud case of the woman's father's jumping off a building. With the efforts of the handsome young man, he helped the woman take back the group left to her by her father. He also found the evidence that the best friend slandered and hit her. At this time, the woman learned that the best friend was going to publicly announce her marriage to her ex-husband at tomorrow's rehabilitation banquet. The woman decided to settle scores with them properly at her banquet tomorrow. On a silent night, suddenly a group of people broke in. At the order of the leader, chaos instantly erupted. Before the father could react, his daughter had already been captured. The father pleaded bitterly for them to let his daughter go. It turned out that the father owed 100 yuan in usurious loan. However, the debt collectors were merciless. They actually wanted to take his daughter to pay off the debt. In the chaos, the father told his daughter to run quickly, but he himself was beaten up. The daughter cried out for her father, but helplessly could only escape in despair. The father could only pin his hopes on the future and vowed to work hard to earn money and find his daughter. As time passed, the father went abroad to strive for 20 years and came back. Finally, he became the richest person in Jingzhou. And now the daughter has grown up to be a beautiful water delivery girl. One day when the girl came home from work, she was shocked to find her adoptive father lying on the ground. And her husband was actually acting intimately with a strange girl in front of her adoptive father. This cruel reality made her extremely angry. The husband not only didn't feel ashamed, but also forced the girl to sign the divorce agreement. He disdained that the girl was a lowly water delivery girl and was not worthy of him. The girl's wholehearted dedication and hard work for him were met with his sarcasm and ruthless abandonment. Under these heavy blows, the girl was in great pain and angrily tore up the divorce agreement. However, at this moment, the mother-in-law angrily came up and gave the girl a big slap. The girl didn't expect that the mother-in-law was also on the husband's side. She made things difficult for the girl in every possible way and even threatened to harm her father. And she also wanted to drive the girl and her adoptive father out of this house. The girl claimed that this was a house bought with her life's efforts. When the mother-in-law took out the property ownership certificate with the mother-in-law's name on it, the girl was completely desperate. When being driven out by her husband, the adoptive father was pushed to the ground by the husband and was bleeding from a head injury. At the hospital, the girl anxiously waited for the doctor. At this time, she encountered her ex-husband's younger brother. The other party not only didn't have the slightest sympathy, but also taunted the girl in every possible way because the girl divorced his brother. The girl pleaded bitterly with her ex-husband's younger brother to save her adoptive father, but what she got was an even more cruel response. At this time, the ex-husband and his new lover appeared and sent a wedding invitation. Their actions were extremely despicable and drove the girl into a desperate situation. The adoptive father was in danger during this process. The girl pleaded desperately for help, but only got indifference and ridicule from the few of them. In the end, the adoptive father passed away. The girl was filled with hatred and vowed to make them accompany her father in death. On this side, the girl's biological father learned that his daughter was going to hold a wedding in the banquet hall under his own group. He was extremely excited and immediately asked his secretary to arrange rich betrothal gifts. Originally, this was the girl's wedding banquet. Now the bride has become this bitch. At this time, the girl was alone and gave this couple a spirit tablet as a congratulatory gift. Next, let's see how the girl takes revenge. Can she recognize her biological father? On the engagement night, the girl closed her eyes in grievance and took the initiative to kiss her fiancé. Unexpectedly, when the man suddenly turned on the light, the girl was astonished to find that the man in front of her was not her fiancé but her husband's second elder brother. At this moment, the girl nervously sat up from the young man. Then the girl awkwardly put on the young man's clothes. The girl knew that the young man was a living Hades, with ruthless means and unruly character. Thinking of this, the girl could only endure and didn't dare to get angry. In order to save her face, she could only lie and say that she was drunk and hope that the young man would take tonight's incident as a misunderstanding. Unexpectedly, the young man didn't seem to intend to let the girl go. He pulled the girl into his arms and then said that the girl's husband should be living a dissolute life with other girls now. At this time, the girl knew that they were forced into a business alliance and there was no affection between them at all. The girl had to lie again. She had been well educated since childhood, so no matter how her husband treated her, the women of the Jin family would not betray their husbands. Seeing this, the young man had to bring up the child to strike the scene. Unexpectedly, the girl witnessed her fiancé's infidelity with her own eyes. And the girl looked at her watch. It was almost time as stipulated by Mother Jian. In order to answer to the Jin family, thinking of her unconscious elder brother, the girl actually made a move that surprised the second master. It turned out that the girl was originally the daughter of the C family. Unexpectedly, the whole family was exterminated by bad people. Only her elder brother was seriously injured and on the verge of death. Unexpectedly, the appearance of the girl was discovered by Madame Jin. She looked particularly like her fourth daughter. So she threatened the girl with her sick elder brother and asked the girl to replace the fourth young lady of the Jin family and enter into a business alliance with young Master Lu Wu. So in order to investigate whether the murderer who exterminated her family was related to the Jin family, the girl could only reluctantly agree. Unexpectedly, before going into the alliance, in order to promote business cooperation as soon as possible, Mother Jin threatened the girl with her elder brother's life and forced the girl to have sex with her fiancé on the wedding night and required an inspection the next morning. The girl didn't dare to disobey Mother Jin with her elder brother's life. So she decided to have a relationship with the young man. Originally, she planned to completely cut off the relationship with the young man after sleeping with him. But it turned out that she couldn't cut it off. The young man not only harassed her frequently but also openly flirted with her at Lou's family banquet because of her presence. The girl felt that her heart was almost in her throat. If people found out about their relationship, wouldn't this day be ruined? Fortunately, the young man could always stop at the right time. The girl's suspended heart finally calmed down. On this day, the girl accidentally saved the young man who was being hunted down. The young man's long untouched heart was cared for. When his heart softened, he decided to repay Jian Huan's kindness. The two thus drew a clear line. Unexpectedly, for his own interests, the fiancé actually asked the girl to steal the project tender document in charge of the young man. The girl firmly refused to do it. It was so hard to cut off the relationship. She definitely couldn't provoke this guy again. Unexpectedly, the fiancé actually threatened her with the marriage contract. The girl was very helpless. Once the engagement was broken off, the Jin family would take her elder brother's life. The girl had to provoke young man again. When the young man learned that the girl came to get the project tender document for her fiancé, he was extremely angry and was about to call her fiancé in front of her and expose what happened that night. Pay attention. When the little girl happily ran over to pick up the toy, she was almost hit by a luxury car. The man quickly got out of the car to check the girl's injury, but he found that the toy in the girl's hand was the one he gave to his daughter 7 years ago. He instantly realized that the little girl in front of him was his own biological daughter. But instead of going forward to care for her, he pushed his daughter away and told her to leave quickly, only because there was a beautiful wife sitting in his car at this moment. At this time, his ugly rural wife rushed over and quickly helped up the fallen daughter. But when she stood up, she found that the man in front of her was her husband who hadn't returned home once in 7 years. Looking at her husband's dressing style, the woman was secretly delighted. Her husband had finally made it. But what she didn't know was that her husband had abandoned her as early as 6 years ago. Not only did he find a beautiful wife in the city, but also had a 6-year-old son. For fear that his city wife would find out the secret that he had been married long ago, the man pulled his ugly wife aside. Then he unceremoniously scolded the woman and asked what she was doing coming to the city to find him. Seeing her husband get angry, the woman explained that she brought her daughter to the city to see a doctor. Unexpectedly, the man said that if she was sick, she should go to see a doctor and shouldn't come to find him. He also disliked the woman for being ignorant. Then he disgustedly threw the local eggs brought by his ugly wife from the countryside on the ground and told her to go back to the countryside quickly. At this time, the city wife suddenly got out of the car. Seeing the two of them pulling and tugging, she quickly questioned her husband about what he was doing. The unsuspecting woman thought that the person coming was her husband's colleague, so she reached out to introduce herself. But before she could say anything, the man claimed first that the woman was his cousin. The woman still wanted to explain. Unexpectedly, her husband widened his eyes and told her to be obedient. Then he told his city wife that they came to see a doctor and asked him to help find a hospital bed. At this time, the city wife reminded the man that today was her father's birthday. If he could make her happy, he would be promoted. In order to raise money to buy a birthday gift for his father-in-law, the man actually had the idea of using his daughter's life-saving money. When he asked if she had brought money, the woman said that she had brought her savings of many years and her mother's coffin money, a total of more than 100,000. However, on the pretext of helping to change to an expert number and paying the expenses in advance, he took away the woman's more than 100,000. Who knew that as soon as her husband left, the daughter's nose started bleeding profusely. This scared the woman. She quickly took her daughter to the hospital, but the doctor told her to register first. Not knowing how to read, she could only look around.